Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah. Praise be to God, Lord of the universe. I bear witness there's no God but God and He has no partners. So today's sermon is going to be based on scientific facts. So we had a brief debate, very short, invitation to submission to a Quranist. And about 30 minutes in, he revealed, in his words, it's crystal clear that the earth is flat. And I was like, oh, is it? And he says that this is what the Quran says, and I don't see that. And what you notice throughout the Quran is that it says God rolls the night into the day, the night and the day into the night, right? That rolling effect. So first, let's get a gauge of what they say. They believe naturally the earth is flat, like on some kind of disc, and there's something called a firmament around it, like a glass dome or something like this that protects you. And then outside of this glass dome are some angels or whatever. And then the sun and the moon kind of orbit in this fashion. Now there's several problems with that, which we'll come to. But first I want to address the fact that the Quran says this. So his specific rejection to Rashad, he noticed that Quranists, they struggle. Every person has their own belief system. There's a person that prays Muhammad from Satan, for example, 3 times at night only. When I was a Quranist, I prayed 3 times, 1 in the morning, the dawn prayer, the noon prayer, and then the night prayer. And other people, they'll have 6 prayer, some 5, some 0. Some say that prayer is reciting the Quran. Some say that the way that you pray is you face the center of the earth. Some of them say you head towards Petra or the North Pole. Some believe that prayer is just a mental state. If you think about God, you're praying. And some of these are refuted in the Quran. God says that to Muhammad, that in times of war, you need to lead them in prayer, and a group of you to hang back and be at arms. So let's say we're in a congregation, we're at war, physical warfare. Muhammad, it was so important, the role of imamate, the leadership, that he would lead the prayer twice. He would be at the front, half the group would pray, the other half would bear arms, right? And then they would swap. He would lead the second congregation again, because it infused them with faith. So clearly, in that example, prayer is a thing, it's a real thing. It's called As-Salat. It's a proper noun with a definite article. Al is the prayer, the contact prayer. And God says in 95:4 that the contact prayer is when the hypocrites pray, they pray so lazily. Ya'tuna salat illa kusala. When they stand up to pray, they do so lazily. So how do you stand up to pray? And then God gives you an expiation, a reduction in your prayer if you're in hardship. If you can't find water, for example, in 5:6, God says you can use sand, right? Wash your face and your hand. Rashad says if you're in the car, you're desperate, you just rub your hands on like your console or your dashboard, rub your face and your hands and you just pray. He says there's never an excuse to not pray. And also if you're riding, God says you can do that while riding. In journey, you can shorten your prayer. So you can't shorten a Quran study, but it's clear that the prayer is a known thing. So prayer he's got wrong, and what's noticeable is that all Quranists, for the basics of their function, of their religion, they don't have that solved. I found out that MFS, Muhammad from Satan, his wife doesn't believe, he believes the earth is flat, and she doesn't believe in prayer at all. He himself rejects the moon landing. He doesn't believe that happened. And when they congregate, this person we were speaking to, they were companions or live close or whatever, she would pray with him just to make him feel better. But that's not what the religion is about. I'm not here because you like to pray and I want to pray with you and I want to create a bond. No, I'm here because this is the law. God says that you shall abandon all business. Rashad says missing a prayer is gross sin. It's very bad. And so when I realized this guy is a flat earther and he said it was crystal clear, that was when I checked out a little bit. That's when I realized, look, the chances of this guy receiving the message, killing his ego, is very, very small. It's not impossible, but it's very small. And one thing you have to remember is God is the creator of the heavens and the earth. Nothing he says will be an untruth. And in 39:5, God says, Yukawwir ala nahar wa yukawwir nahara ala layl. God rolled, Yukawwir is a rolling effect, the night into the day into the night. And 79:30, God says, this is dhalika dahaha. Dahaha is the Arabic word for dahya or egg. And Rashad explains that the earth is egg-shaped. It doesn't explain which egg, never said it was an ostrich egg or anything like this, but it is egg-shaped. And the reason for that is because the earth is actually an oblate spheroid. A sphere, a perfect sphere, is completely central. The radius from the edge of the surface of this earth to the core of the planet, anywhere around the earth, is identical. But an oblate spheroid is squished a little bit at the top, which is what happens. In fact, I would say nearly all heavenly bodies are oblate spheroids of some kind. The reason for that is the formation of heavenly bodies is a crashing of bodies together that then from gravity melds together, and it has a lot of rotational angular momentum. That spinning is going to squish it just by the nature of the amount that it's spinning by. And so you question yourself, is this possible? Is it possible that the earth is flat? And the answer is no. I don't know if you were there for the very recent eclipse. I was on TikTok looking at the eclipse on BBC One or in Spain, and my wife was also on BBC looking at that. And we didn't have the device, so we were kind of glancing, trying to see the eclipse, but we saw it from a contraption we made. What I noticed was that the eclipse was very different just from where we were in Langley to London. That's only a few, 80 miles apart. Their eclipse was closer to a full eclipse. Ours was less by a huge margin. So how can it be if we're on a flat earth and the moon is somewhere far that way and it's covering the sun in some capacity, that a distance between you and me would shift the angle of the shadow projected onto the sun, or what we see, I suppose. So this will be a lunar eclipse. So scientifically, it doesn't make sense. And then what you'll notice is that anywhere on Earth, the shadow of the moon is always circular. What does that mean? If you take a ball and you point a torchlight at that ball, it always makes a circle regardless of the direction of the light. And that implies the object is spherical. It has to be. If you take a disc and you shine it on a side, it will just be one line, right? Nowhere on Earth is the moon projecting one line shadow. That has never happened. And so in science, there's something called the cosmic ladder. This is how we decide or calculate distances to different galaxy systems. Have you ever wondered where they said, oh, that constellation is 7.6 light years away? And you're like, how'd you know that? How do you even know how far the moon is? And the reason for that is that they measured the distance of the moon. This is hundreds of years ago. They observed the moon from this location, and then from halfway across the planet, they measured the distance to the moon again and looked at the reflection of the moon. And from that, they knew the distance from here to wherever they went to, and from what they looked at. And on this triangulation, they could say the moon is this far away. So the moon, we're fairly confident on how far it is. Then the next rung of the ladder is trying to figure out how far the sun is. And we could see the planets in the night sky. In fact, the Quran talks about this, how Abraham used to look at the planets. And he says, this must be my Lord. And as it disappeared, he said, my Lord doesn't disappear. And it's a bit harder to calculate the distance of the sun and indeed the planets, but you can use the position of the moon now. Now that you know the distance of the moon, let's say I know the distance between me and you, and I want to calculate the distance between me and the bus there, for example, right? Again, I can use triangulation. So if I calculate the distance between us and what we observe there, look at the angle, and then I go on the other side and I look again, meaning the moon has circulated around the Earth, then you get, basically using Pythagoras' theorem, the distance from us to the sun. And so we've advanced every known technology through science. Not one of the systems that you see works through the theory of the flat Earth. This is not a conspiracy. Not a single engineer that I've ever met has said they believe in a flat earther, because if they did, I don't think they would be an engineer. Not a single scientist I've ever spoken to or any research paper condones or even notifies this to be a realistic truth. One of the things they say that confirms that the earth is flat is something to do with the North Star, which I'll address in the second part of the sermon, God willing. Repent, Tubulullah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Shari la ilaha illallah wa la sharika la. Praise be to God, Lord of the universe. I bear witness there's no God but God and He has no partners. So this is a basic scientific fact, and you can see that if you're debating, your ego is going to rise above your understanding. And I can't really explain just how grossly inadequate someone has to be to believe in a flat earth. But what you'll notice is that every time you debate one of these people or talk to them, they're very confident. They just know it. They just say, oh, well, there's NASA files that showcase that the earth is flat. I was like, what do you mean? Show me. There's some snippet of fake moon landing or something like that. I was like, that's not true. And another one they cite is the North Star. There's a star, regardless of which time of the year it is. When you look up in the night sky, it's always in the same position. As you go up north, that North Star is in the north. And so they believe because of that, the earth must be flat, because then that star is just up here. Now, this is something to do with parallax. Parallax is the effect that happens based on your vision. So if you were a kid and you had to measure water height on a beaker, they tell you have to be at the height of the water, right? You can't look up or below. And that's to do with parallax. So if you close your eyes on a bottle or something in front of you, one eye, and then shift, that object moves, right? That's because what you're looking at changes based on the distance. But let's say I'm looking at you and I close my eyes, you're a bit to the left, you're a bit to the right. But if, let's say you move 100 meters away, I do that, it's not noticeable. Let's say you're a kilometer away, I do left and right, it's not noticeable. If you're 1,000 kilometers away, left and right won't make a lick of difference. The further you are, the smaller the angle between the two measuring objects. This is called parallax. So the distance between what that object is to what you're observing changes the perception of that object. So you're here, if I go here, you'll be to the right. If I go here, you'll be to the left. But if you go 1,000 kilometers away, no matter where I stand, even if I go to the edge of the earth, you're still going to look at exactly the same position. And that's what happens with the North Star. They are millions of light years away. This means if you were to get on a spaceship that could travel at the speed of light, which is impossible, it would take you millions of years to get to that star. That's how far it is. And the Earth, the Earth and the Sun is also pretty vast in scale. You think you look at the Sun, you're like, oh, that's just down the block. No, it takes 8 minutes for light to travel to Earth, which means light has been emitted. There's a nuclear fusion happening on the Earth's sun, the sun's surface. Nuclear explosion the size we've never seen before. And that light takes 8 minutes. You count it down. One part of the sermon, we just received one of the waves of light from the sun that were just initiated. And light is extremely fast. It travels 300 kilometers per second. That's very fast. You could travel the entire Earth in 1 second. That's how fast light is. And so it's very evident that nothing around us agrees with this ideation. If you accept that the Earth is flat, that the moon landing is fake, whatever, a lot of conspiracy theories, then you're letting go of a basic scientific and universal truth that God created these things. So for example, you could say, I don't believe in evolution. Some people don't. Then how do you overcome that? Where do you look in the Quran to see evolution? God says he creates the creation and then he repeats it. What does that mean? And Rashad explained the theory of evolution, and he said in the beginning of time, he said that there were 6 million creatures in existence, 6 million blobs or whatever that then was evolved. So he accepted evolution, but he rejects evolution cross species. Meaning, you, even if I gave you 1 trillion years to evolve as a human being, you will never become a monkey, nor a toad, nor a whale. It's impossible. But you could maybe, I don't know, if it's a monkey, you'll change your form, there'll be some changes in your physique or whatever within the same species. You're not going to change species entirely. And the problem with that is to do with probability. They said this before, I think the difference between our genome and the monkey's genome is like 0.1% or 1%. And that 1% is 1 billion locks. So imagine I said to you, hey, open this lock. It's got 6 codes, 6 digits. You just entered the digit 1 to 9, 1 to 9, 1 to 9, 1 to 9. If I give it to you one try, what's the chances of you succeeding? 0 to 9 times 6 to the power of 6. So it's 1 over 10, 1 over 10, 1 over 10, 1 over 10, 1 over 10. So it's basically 1 in 10 million chance that you get it right first try. That's one lock. What if I said to you, you have to do 2 locks? It's multiplied that. What if I said to you, you had to do 10 million locks in succession? That's the difference between us and a monkey. And that's what protein folding is. That's what genetic mutation is. Something in your body decides to mutate, maybe cause cancer or mutate into something positive. Let's say our thumbs evolve in the next 100 years because it's easier to scroll on our phones or something like this. That has to happen by a mutation first. One human somewhere in China, his hand dislocates or he develops a 6th thumb, something like this, and it's proven to be advantageous genetically. His offspring inherits that quality. The ones around them die, and eventually he is the surviving 6-thumbed creature, species that overtakes humanity. That's what it takes to evolve. It's never happened. There are people that are born with 6 fingers and stuff like this, but it's not advantageous. And even if it were advantageous, it's a mutation. Mutation is rare, and when it happens, it kills. It dies. It's bad. Whenever a mutation happens in your body or in any creature, it tends to be deleterious, they say, which is meaning that it deletes your cells. Every time your body mutates, you get worse. You devolve. Anyway, so the difference of 0.1% between you and a monkey is an impossibility to bridge. How much time can you give someone to unlock 1 to 10 million locks in succession without fail? Meaning if he got to 999,995th lock and he guessed it all right all the way, and he failed this 999,996 lock, that whole chain fails. It has to happen simultaneously, perfectly. That's the condition of your existence from a monkey, let alone from another species much further away. So this is an impossibility. And this is just basic science facts. And this is why the messenger is needed. And God says in 465, فَلَا وَرَبُّكَ, indeed, they're not believers unless they come to you to judge in their disputes and accept your judgment unhesitatingly. They must submit a total submission. Why? Because it's the ego that's holding that person to the flat earth. It's the ego that's holding that person to the moon is fake or the prayer is 3 times. You never have enough information. Doesn't matter if you studied your whole life on this specific topic to say conclusively, yep, definitely we evolved from a monkey. The evidence is contrary to that. And so what I've noticed, and I'm fairly deep into my science understanding, is that anything the messenger teaches has never once, not once, failed the universal truth, the agreed understanding of reality. And so this is the foundation. Nothing he teaches is outside of the Quran. Nothing in the Quran is outside of reality because the Quran is the truth. God is the truth. and you have a ledger that gives you perfect understanding with irrefutable proof. What are the odds that the first revelation of the Quran is exactly 19 verses? That it is the 19th final verse from the Quran? That its first 5 verses that were revealed to Muhammad were 76 letters, 19 words? That the very first verse in the Quran is 19 letters? That if you recite the Fatiha, your lips touch 19 times? That the combination of A, L, M, Ha, Mim, Kaf, Ha, Ya, and Sad, Qaf, Noon, Waw, Noon, all the initial letters in their chapters are a multiple of 19. That the number of verses is a multiple of 19. The number of chapters is a multiple of 19. The number of words, where it says, alayha tis'at ashara, over it is 19. Very next verse tells you what the 19 does, right? It says it increases the faith of the faithful. It confirms the scripture. It removes all traces of doubt from the Christians and the Jews as well as the believers, and makes the people that don't believe say, what did God mean by this allegory? That verse is 57 words, 19 times 3. And there are many more examples of this layering in the Quran. And I did a whole calculation before, and one of the most profound calculations, I think we spoke about this, is the number of times the word in the name of God, most gracious, most merciful, appears in the Quran. It appears in exactly 1,919 verses, 19 times 101. This probability alone is the same as 1 times 10 to the 4,425. That's 1 followed by 4,425 zeros. You could be throwing, just to be clear, the number of atoms in the universe. Atoms in the universe. In your body, there's trillions of atoms. I think it's septillions of atoms. Atoms in the universe is 1 times 10 to the 80. 80. And 1 times 10 to the 81 is 10 times that number. So if you take 10 universes of atoms, that's 1 times 81. 82 is 10 times that. 83 is 10 times that. This probability that just so happens, God, most gracious, in the name of God, most gracious, most merciful, lands in exactly 1,919 verses, is the same as trying to win a cosmic lottery. Let's say you bought a ticket to win a cosmic lottery, and it's a chance of you finding a specific atom in the universe. It could be anywhere. It could be here, it could be in the next galaxy, it could be in another edge of the universe, but it's one atom. You buy this ticket. The chance of you winning is against 1 times 10 to the 80 atoms. It's very small. You will never win. But you would have to win 56 times in succession. If you bought this ticket, you win by some cosmic miracle. You enter another ticket. You buy another ticket immediately after, and you win that. And you win the next one, and you win the next one, and you win the next one. You would have to do this 56 times in succession to find the odds at random that God, most gracious, most merciful in the name of, appears in exactly 1,990 verses. This alone should shift everyone's belief that this is the truth. There's nothing that could overcome this. Not a mathematician, not a scientist, not a physician, nobody. This is irrefutable. This is the truth. Aqim as-Salah.